Day number 6 of the storytelling project. Today's topic is showmanship. Um, Often people come to me and tell me, Toby, you're such an extrovert, you're such a showman, you're never afraid to get up in front of people and talk, and like, how do you do it? And I think to myself, they just really don't know who I am. Now, for those of you who know me, they're going to probably think this is like the biggest story I've had to tell so far, but I honestly believe I'm a bit of an introvert with a twist. Most introverts that you meet, there's something that they take great pride in knowing about or doing. This introvert's specialty is showmanship. Now, I say this like, I'm the first person to ever have come across this, but it's really a common thing. Look at, Johnny Carson or any one of a number of comedians. They could all be sort of classified what you would call the introvert showman. And what does showmanship mean for me? I mean, I'm not on stage, I'm not performing, I'm not, a public personality, but yet there still is a showman aspect of a lot of what I do. When I meet people on the street and they say, oh, you've been doing such and such and such and such, and your life is so interesting, I see you on Facebook all the time, I'm like, think to myself, well, yeah, but that's not me. That's who I want you to think I am. It's the Toby Show more than it is me. I take pride in creating the Toby Show. Have just enough quirk, just enough seriousness, just enough everything to make that show be what I want you to think I am, regardless if I'm that or not. I did a little bit of research a couple years ago about millennial kids, and there's a whole swath of sort of introvert teenagers who create a social presence online, not because they want to, but because they know if they don't, they'll even be more of a standout or a sideline or a freak, and no one really wants to be that. And I think that I've taken it somewhat to an extreme where I've created this persona that may or may not necessarily be me, but I enjoy playing with making other people believe what it is. So the whole showman thing, it's easy for me to get up in front of a crowd and talk, but it's not easy for me to be part of a crowd. It's easy for me to play by others more than it is with others. I remember some of the advertising agency jobs I had. I was downsized once, and my boss said, we're letting you go, but it's not because you do bad work. It just seems like what we're doing is over here, and what you're interested in doing is over here. And it's that whole standout showman thing again. So for me, I don't know what my story for showmanship is, other than it's a craft. It's something that does not come naturally. It is something that I work on. It is something that, like this exercise that I'm doing right now, I'm not afraid to put in a little bit of practice day in and day out to make it work. So when people come to me and say, oh, this just comes so easy to you, and oh, you're just such a extroverted, congenial, gregarious sort of guy, the answer is sorta. This past year, at Burning Man every year, the center event at the end of the festival is the burning of the big effigy of man. And for the past 7 or 8 years, I've always gone to the man burn, and it's when everyone from all over that city aggregates together into one place finally, where they're all together, and that is the most uncomfortable place I could ever choose to be in. I don't like crowds. So what I started thinking about this past year was, I live in New York City. I've lived in New York City for nearly 30 years now. I've never been to see the ball drop for New Year's Eve at Times Square, but I still love New York City. That means that I can still love Black Rock City, go to Burning Man, and never have to go see the man burn ever again. So this year what I did was an experiment. I decided to stay at home. I sent everybody else off to watch the man burn, and I was going to stay home and be the camp host and make sure that nothing walked away while the city was pretty much depopulated because everyone had gone off to the center of the city to see the man burn. I built a small fire. I put on a little jazz. Within about 2 or 3 minutes, this older man came up and sat down beside me. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, it's the first time I've had the place to myself all week. And he said, I hear you. Can I sit here quietly for a little while? And we just sat there. About 20 minutes later, another woman showed up, and we talked a little bit, and we talked about the difference between being an extrovert and an introvert. And being an introvert does not necessarily mean you don't want to be a hermit, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily are easy around people. So you can like people, you can like being part of the crowd, but you have to kind of learn how to do it on your terms. So I guess for me, showmanship was just learning how to do it on my terms. That's it for today. Hopefully we'll get something good tomorrow. Thanks for checking in every day, though.